It's interesting with Zinchenko, and we know with Man City when he was there that they play with their fullbacks sometimes. He can they are slightly inverted sometimes, aren't they? These fullbacks that we see. So there's always a evolution of roles in football, we find. But looking at the situation at Arsenal, there's the injury to Thomas Partey, which we know how an influential player he has been to Arsenal this season. What do you think Mikel Arteta should do to plug, and it's only plug because they hope that Partey can come back and be a part of the end of the season as such, to plug that hole that's missing? Should Zinchenko be playing in this role?
Well, first of all, Nat, Thomas Partey is absolutely, his influence on that team is pivotal to them being a better side, because he runs that midfield, picks up the ball, does the simple things brilliantly. Now, what was noticeable at Villa Park was how open the game was. Zinchenko, as you said, was inverted, where he played inside in midfield more often than not. Yeah. It made Arsenal very vulnerable out wide on both sides because, you know, they're very lopsided, Arsenal. They're very heavy on the right side. Because if you think of, obviously, Ben White's role generally all season has been Saka, but he overlaps him, but not a lot. He'll do it. He'll never go as far inside as what Zinchenko does. He does it a lot in the game. And Martinelli suffered in recent weeks because of where Zinchenko goes. It sort of leaves him a big space behind. And he gets exploited with behind. Yeah. And that has happened. And Trossard played the game, obviously, at Villa Park. And again, Trossard found it very difficult to make an influence on the game going the other way because Zinchenko ended up, and I know they were losing the game. They were 2-1 down and he ends up getting the equaliser. But as a part of me thinks, if Thomas Partey's not fit, play Tierney. He's a safer left back and he's a more, I think, trusted defender than Zinchenko. He's a fabulous footballer, Zinchenko. Give him the ball anywhere. He's got great feet, quick passer. He can be influential in the way the team are going forward. But I would look at him and go, if we have no Thomas Partey, I mean, Xhaka's gone a little bit off the boil. It feels like he's had a long season. He's had a tremendous year. But this feels like you could play Zinchenko in his position, and if Thomas Partey's not there, or even leave out Xhaka for a game or two, because I think if Arsenal are going to win the title, Nat, I really believe they're going to have to win games 1-0. It's not going to be doing what they did at Villa Park, win 4-2 in that way. I don't see them getting over the line that way.
Okay, so you would think that Arteta should utilise Zinchenko more as a defensive midfielder? Is that what you're saying?
Well, he can play. I mean, the way that Arteta plays is not, Xhaka's not a defensive midfielder now. No. He's now getting forward in advanced positions.
But that's because of Partey. That's because Partey allows him to go forward, if you like.
Yeah, he does. Well, I think Zinchenko could do a similar role in that midfield. And Xhaka just felt like he needed a little bit of a respite because he's had a long season. And I think he's going to play a big part towards the end of it. But I just feel, if you're talking about a side, if they're going to go every week now, Zinchenko left back, and he's doing what he's doing offensively, they're going to get punished, Arsenal. There's no way. I mean, look, they've lost 3 games in their last 5. And yes, it's a couple of cup games. They'd lost, in the last 30 before, they'd only lost 3 times, I think, Arsenal, something like that. So they're a side that are capable of shutting shop up a little bit. They still have enough going forward.
Interesting. I was just thinking this, and Ryan's just tweeted in as well about it. But why would you move Zinchenko when you've got Jorginho? He can do the Partey role.
Well, I'm talking about maybe even giving Xhaka a rest, because I wasn't talking about leaving Jorginho, taking him out. I'd have and Odegaard, them Jorginho. 3. I'd have Zinchenko, Jorginho, and
so does that mean you have Jorginho as sitting as such, and then you do allow, because we know the offensive capabilities qualities of Zinchenko, and I think I remember reading a quote once where Guardiola said, without doubt, his best position is as an attacking midfielder. And when they brought him to Manchester City, he was a number 10, but that's where kind of you saw Phil Foden, for example, playing. So it wasn't really possible for him to play in that role at Manchester City. So what you're suggesting is, rather than being defensive, you still want him to be the offensive player. Yeah. But more like the Xhaka role. Yeah,
more like the Xhaka role. Than the left back that ends up being inverted, that ends up leaving loads of space. Tierney, for me, would be a safer bet, as in they've got to keep clean sheets as well. Yeah. They're not going to win the league winning 4-2s, and they're just not. I don't think that's a way for Arsenal to go. And they still have enough offensively to win games. They do have that. With Martinelli, Saka, and Nketiah and Odegaard as that floating sort of 10-8 player that he can be for them. I just think they've got to shut up shop a little bit defensive-wise, because they were way too open at Villa Park. If anyone watched that game, and I've watched it, certainly probably half of it, because I watched the second half again, and that game was a coin flip. Arsenal don't want to be in coin flip games. They don't need to be.
They want to be controlling it.
Controlling the play. And I didn't think I saw that at Villa Park. And
well, it's interesting to say, because it's 6 games without a clean sheet in the Premier League. Now, look, some teams would love to be in a similar... where am I going with this? 6 games without a clean sheet is not terrible in the sense if you're winning, if you're still getting good results in the main. But still, a team that's competing for the title... 6 games without a clean sheet doesn't read well.
No.
Because you need your defence to be at its top level.
Yeah. Look, it all changes with Thomas Partey because he's so important to them. But I still think, don't ignore Tierney as a left-back that you can trust a little bit more defensively. I just feel that that's a really pivotal position, the left-back of Arsenal at the moment, because they are, like I said earlier, they're a little bit lopsided. They're on the right side, it functions way more, and the ball tends to go out to the... Look, Saka's been in incredible form this year, so you're just letting him play. He's getting the ball in all sorts of areas, and he's being prepared, he's being brave, he's getting goals. But Ben White's quite safe for him. I feel like Martinelli needs a safer defender behind him than Zinchenko, because he wants to be offensive all the time.